The North Atlantic, 986 AD. Bjarni Herjolfsson has lost his course on the way from Iceland to Greenland. Fog shrouds his Knar. Currents pull the ship westward into the unknown, where according to the maps of the time, there should be only emptiness. Instead, land appears on the horizon. Bjarni turns around. He doesn't even go ashore. For a Viking, this seems absurd, to find a new continent and simply sail away. But it was precisely this mistake that set off a chain of events leading to the first European settlement in America, 5 centuries before Columbus. And what's most astonishing, the Vikings accomplished this on ships without a compass, without maps, without any navigational instruments we consider essential. So how did a handful of Scandinavians cross the most dangerous ocean on the planet and establish a colony 2,500 miles from home, using technology that looks primitive even by the standards of their own time? The answer overturns everything we thought we knew about medieval navigation. Hollywood shows longships racing across the open ocean straight to the shores of the New World. Reality was smarter and scarier. The Vikings didn't discover America in one voyage. They methodically built a chain of colonies stretching across the entire North Atlantic Ocean. Archaeological evidence shows the exact sequence. 870s, Norway, Iceland. Distance, 870 miles. Travel time, 7 to 10 days. Established, over 300 farms by 930. 982, Iceland, Greenland, Eric the Red. Distance, 745 miles. Travel time, 5 to 7 days with favorable winds. Founded, Eastern and Western settlements, 4,000 to 5,000. Inhabitants by 1,200. 986, Bjarni's accidental discovery. Distance from Greenland to Newfoundland, 2,100 miles. He did not land, just memorized the coastline, 1,000. Leif Erikson uses Bjarni's account. First deliberate expedition. Discovers 3 regions: Helluland, Baffin Island; Markland, Labrador; Vinland, Newfoundland. Each crossing was not a death-defying leap into the unknown, but a logical extension of already mastered routes. But even with this stepping stone strategy, how did they find their way? The magnetic compass didn't appear in Europe until the 12th century, 200 years after the Vikings' voyages. Astrolabe, sextant, chronometer, all of these would come centuries later. The Vikings had none of what we consider basic navigation tools. And yet they crossed the Atlantic with accuracy that amazes modern sailors. For centuries, this was considered a myth from the sagas. Then, in 2013, a study published in the Proceedings of the Royal Society confirmed crystals of Iceland spar, calcite, can determine the position of the sun even through clouds and fog with accuracy to within 1 degree. The physics works like this. Sunlight becomes polarized when passing through the atmosphere. Iceland's spar splits light into 2 beams. By rotating the crystal, a Viking could see changes in brightness. When properly oriented, both beams became equally bright. This indicated the exact direction to the sun. Excavations in 2002 off the coast of England discovered a fragment of such a crystal on an Elizabethan-era ship. Sailors were still using this technology 500 years later. The Vikings didn't just look at where the sun is. The discovery of a wooden disc from Greenland, dated to the 11th century, shows a system of notches, a primitive sun compass. The principle: at a specific time of day, the shadow from a central pin should fall on a particular mark. Deviation showed a change in course. Required adjusting the disc's position as they moved north-south due to changing latitude. Modern experiments on the replica ship Saga Siglar proved a Viking could maintain a course with deviation of no more than 5 degrees, even without a visible shoreline. Archaeozoological studies of remains in Greenland and Iceland show Vikings knew marine fauna intimately. They used types of birds. Different species indicated distance to land. Storm petrels, up to 125 miles from shore. Gulls, up to 30 miles. Puffins nest on specific islands. Whales migrated along predictable routes. Bowhead whales followed along the ice edge. Pilot whales pointed the way to the Faroe Islands. Watercolor, changing hues showed depth and currents. Green, shallow water, land nearby. Dark blue, deep ocean. Murky, river runoff, meaning land is close. The sagas mention the Whale Road between Iceland and Greenland, not a metaphor, but a literal navigational landmark. Experienced seafarers distinguished. Clouds over land had a greenish tint from reflected vegetation. Ice blink, white glow in the sky over glaciers, visible from 60+ miles away. Smells, pine, peat, campfire smoke carried by wind for dozens of miles. Archaeoclimatic data from Greenland ice cores shows during the period 950 to 1200, the climate was warmer with less ice. This created a navigational window for Viking expansion. But even with this knowledge, crossing the ocean remained deadly dangerous. Mediterranean ships of the time literally fell apart in northern waters. Byzantine dromons? Too heavy. Arab dhows? Couldn't withstand the waves. English vessels? Not fast enough. Viking ships were different. Longships weren't used for transatlantic crossings. For exploration and colonization, Vikings built nars, trading vessels. Archaeological finds of nars, Skuldelev 1, Roskilde, show length 52 to 56 feet, beam 15 feet, draft just 3 feet, could approach any shore. Cargo capacity up to 24 tons. Crew 20 to 30 people. Revolutionary design features: clinker construction, overlapping planks, flexible, breathing in the waves. Ordinary ships broke from the stress. Nars flexed and returned to shape. T-shaped keel, stability plus shallow draft, could sail both ocean and rivers. Single square sail, area of 970 square feet. Wool fabric impregnated with fat, water repellent plus elastic. Sail management required only 2 to 3 people. Open deck with removable boards. Cargo stowed in the center, covered with hides. Crew slept between cargo and rails. During storms, water drained freely. The ship didn't sink. A 2016 experiment, Draken Harald Hårfagre, crossing from Norway to Canada, a Nar replica crossed the Atlantic in 5 weeks, proving 11th century technology was fully functional. The saga of Eric the Red describes 3 regions that Leif discovered. 1. Helluland, land of flat stones. Description: bare rocks, glaciers, uninhabitable. Identification: Baffin Island. Evidence: Norwegian archaeologists found stones with Viking markings on Tanfield Island, 2012. 2. Markland, forest land. Description: dense forests, white sandy beaches. Identification: Labrador coast. Evidence: dendrochronological analysis showed Vikings cut timber right here. Samples from Lance aux Meadows contain traces of metal axes dated to 1000. 3. Vinland, land of grapes or land of pastures. Description: mild climate, year-round grass, salmon in rivers. Identification: northern Newfoundland. Key evidence: Lance aux Meadows, discovered in 1960 by Norwegian archaeologists Helge and Anne Stein Ingstad. Excavations from 1961 to 1968 revealed 8 structures, turf and timber, typically Scandinavian construction. A smithy, the first in the New World. Pre-Columbian America didn't know iron technology. A spindle whorl, identical to Icelandic ones from the 9th to 11th centuries. A bronze pin, Scandinavian type. Processed iron, slag, nails, rivets. Radiocarbon dating 990 to 1050 AD. Critically important find: remains of worked wood showed use of metal tools. Indigenous peoples of America at that time used only stone implements. This could only have been Europeans. And the only Europeans to reach America before 1492, the Vikings. Settlement size: 70 to 90 people maximum. This wasn't a colony, it was a production base. Finds show iron production from bog ore, ship repairs, timber harvesting. Greenland had almost no forests. Temporary housing for crews of several nars. Vikings lived here for no more than 10 to 20 years. Why so briefly? The sagas have the answer, and archaeology confirms it. Reason 1: hostility of the indigenous population. The sagas call them Skrælings, probably ancestors of the Inuit and Beothuk. The saga of Eric the Red describes trade, then conflict. The Skrælings came in many boats. The Vikings traded milk and red cloth. Then Karlsefni's bull bellowed. The Skrælings were frightened and attacked. Archaeological finds confirm contact. Scandinavian artifacts have been found in indigenous burials, coins, pins, metal fragments. But there were too few Vikings for a war on 2 fronts. Reason 2: logistics. Distance: Greenland, Vinland, 2,100 miles. Travel time: 2 to 4 weeks, depending on wind. Each expedition required at least 2 nars, 1 for cargo, 1 for passengers, 1 for people. 30 to 50 crew members. Provisions for several months. Risk of ship loss: approximately 15 to 20%. Trade in timber and iron was profitable, but the risks were too high. Reason 3: climate cooling. Data from Greenland ice cores shows from 1200 the Little Ice Age begins. Sea ice expands. Navigation windows shrink. Routes become deadly dangerous. By 1350, even Greenland's western settlement was abandoned. Vinland was too far to hold. A 2010 study, American Journal of Physical Anthropology, discovered mitochondrial haplogroup C1 among Icelanders. This haplogroup is Native American. Theory: Vikings brought a woman from Vinland to Iceland around 1000. But this is the only genetic trace. There's no other DNA evidence of prolonged contact. The sagas preserved the memory, but only in Iceland and Norway. The rest of Europe didn't even know about it. Reasons: no written records outside Scandinavia. The Catholic Church didn't document these discoveries. Trade routes didn't extend that far south. The discovery brought no riches, unlike Columbus's gold from the Americas. Vinland became legend. By the 15th century, Even Scandinavians doubted. Was it real or myth? Until archaeology proved Vikings really were in America. 500 years before Columbus, without a compass, without maps, without a chronometer, Vikings crossed the Atlantic and founded the first European settlement in the New World. They did this thanks to a phased colonization strategy, Iceland, Greenland, Vinland, unique ships capable of surviving northern waters, knowledge of nature, sun, birds, currents, whales, clouds, sunstones, technology ahead of its time, mathematical navigation using sun compasses, the determination to live in conditions that would kill a modern person. The Vikings didn't discover America by accident. It was the result of centuries of maritime experience, engineering genius, and absolute fearlessness in the face of the unknown. When you fire up your GPS to drive to the store, remember, Vikings crossed the ocean by reading clouds, navigated by whales, found continents by watching shadows, and they did it first. Not because their technology was better, but because they knew the ocean in a way we don't even know our own neighborhood.